A very good evening to all of you. It's wonderful to welcome you here for the sixth edition of Coffee with Vythee. It's always a pleasure to meet all of you and talk to all of you on this beautiful Saturday evening. So, today we have a very interesting topic. So, before I go into that, let me quickly introduce myself for those who are joining us for the first time. I am Vaidishwaran Vedigiri. I am the founder and principal learning consultant at Vylearn. And I have been conducting this Coffee with Vythee series for about 6 months now. The objective of this program is to spread technology that is related to education, spread technology that is related to your day-to-day activities, to help you understand the various tools and technologies that are available around us and how we can effectively use them in our day-to-day lives. So that's the objective, and without further ado, let's get into today's topic. So as far as today's topic is concerned, this is an extension of the previous Coffee with Vythee series, where I did a 2-hour masterclass on PowerPoint. For those who didn't attend that masterclass, the masterclass is available on my YouTube channel, the Empathic Designer Podcast, so you can go and check it out there. So a request that came in from a number of people who attended that masterclass was to give some more additional tools and technologies that are related to PowerPoint and PowerPoint presentation, because PowerPoint is a tool that is not only restricted to teachers and students and trainers, but it also goes into the corporate sphere, where we are expected to make a lot of presentations, and our presentations really need to be top notch in order to set us apart from the rest of the crowd. So today we are going to be looking at a tool which is going to help us do just that. So one of the things that you would have noticed when it comes to PowerPoint and PowerPoint presentations is there are some presentation decks that look amazing in terms of the colors that they use, the fonts that they use, the combination that they use. Somehow they seem to work. Somehow it looks nice. What makes it look nice? So we saw a number of elements during our last Coffee with Vythee, and today we are going to spend some time on the color aspect of things, because oftentimes we know how to use the tool, but when it comes to color and using color and applying color to our templates or our slides, we tend to lose out a little bit, because one, we feel that we are not designers per se, and we feel that colors and designing is something that is something that only designers can do, and we cannot do something like that. But today there are tools that can make your life so much easy, and that can elevate the colors and the design of your slides to such phenomenal levels. So today we are going to be looking at a tool called Adobe Color. So without further ado, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen. So Adobe Color is a free tool. This is available. You don't need a professional account for using Adobe tool. You can still use Adobe tool even without signing in or having an Adobe account. So I will show you what is the difference between having an Adobe account versus not having an Adobe account, and I'm going to show you how it really doesn't make much of a difference from our standpoint if we follow just a few steps to make it apply to PowerPoint and any other document that we create. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Let's go to our browser.
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Thank you. Barchandra sir, nice to see you after a long
Good
time.
evening, sir. Good evening. Maybe in another 5 minutes, I'll be actively participating.
Sure, nice to see you
Just now
after
I
such a long
entered.
time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot for sparing your Saturday evening for us over here.
This is my pleasure, sir. I'm in the learning phase.
Sure, thank you. So we're going to be looking at this site called color.adobe.com. This is this URL, color.adobe.com. So you can go in there. So this is how the homepage will look like. So as you might have seen, you can see that I have not signed into my Adobe account. I'm not going to sign into my Adobe account for today, because I want to show you all the things that you can do without having an Adobe account. Because as you all know, an Adobe subscription is pretty expensive, and you don't need it for your run of the mill work unless you are a professional media developer or a graphic designer. So for people who just want to make their slides look nice and use colors effectively, you don't really need an Adobe account. So today, for today's demonstration purpose, I am not going to sign into my Adobe account, and I'm going to show you all that you can do without an Adobe account. Right, so let's get started. So here in the home page, you get to see a lot of things. If you are visiting color.adobe for the first time, you will get a pop-up like this. So this is I click this little star over there. If you are visiting color.adobe.com for the first time, you will get this pop-up where it will just show you some of the new features that have been added to color.adobe.com. So you can quickly glance through some of the features over here, or if you want to take a tour, you can just click start tour and it will give you a tour of what the new features are, and you can just understand through that. So I'm going to go back to the home page. So here we are. So if you can see, the site is laid out in a particular manner. There are four main tabs in the site, which you can see on the top layer over here. We have create, explore, trends and libraries. If you don't have an Adobe account, you can use the first three. The fourth tab will be available only for those who have an Adobe account, and that is essentially for people who are going to save their color palettes in a library and something that they want to import into other Adobe applications like a Photoshop or an Illustrator. So since we are not going to be using those tools, we really don't need to worry about libraries at the moment. We will explore the first three main tabs. That in itself is so much that is there, and there's so much that this particular site offers to you. So let's get started with the first create tab. So the create tab is more of a freewheel kind of a thing where you can play around and create color palettes for your own self, right? So if you had seen in my earlier session, I would have talked about the various types of color combinations that you can do, like a monochromatic, a complementary, a split complementary. So we were talking about all of that in a theoretical standpoint in our last Coffee with Vythee session. So here you can see a visual representation of how it looks like. So now we have analogous. So as you know, analogous means colors that are related to each other. So right now we are set at all shades of blue. Now you can play around with this based on the color that you want. So let's say that you are looking for an analogous theme, that is colors which are closely related to each other, but you don't want blue, you want to try something else. Let's say we want to try something in orange. So if you notice the 5 circles over here, the central circle has a small triangle in it. So that is your main point of reference. So what you'll have to do is move your mouse pointer to that triangle, hold your mouse button and drag it. So when you drag it along, you will get different color combinations that are analogous to each other. So this means that all these color combinations are analogous and it should technically work in your slide deck. Suppose if you are going for a monochromatic version, monochromatic, again you can see that it's a similar shade that is getting applied to all of the different colors. Okay, and then we have triads, we have complementary. We've seen all of this. We've seen complementary colors. We saw split complementary, how you can see that it gets split. The complementary colors are getting split like this. We have double split complementary. This is a bit more, how do you say? It's a little bit more of a complex palette. So if you are looking for a very simple palette and if you want to create a very harmonious slide deck, you can probably go with an analogous or a monochromatic or a triad or probably a complementary shade. These are relatively safer spots that you can play around with, and it will give you a set of very safe palettes. And if you want to explore more and you want to get a little adventurous, you can try these kind of combinations, something like this. So makes your slide deck a little bit more vibrant. So now you can ask me, okay, so I've got these colors. So how do I move these colors into PowerPoint? Right? So these are, let's say that I want this color palette, I like this one. So how do I move it? I'm going to show you how to do that. If you notice, under each of these colors, you have a set of numbers over here. These are alphanumeric six characters. These are alphanumeric characters that are 6 in number. These are called hex values. So hex values are nothing but they are universal values that are applied to every distinct color possible. Right? I think there is someone who is not on mute. Could you please mute yourself? Thank you. So all we'll have to do, so these colors, these hex values are transferable from one application to other. So let me quickly show you how it works. So I'm going to open PowerPoint. So let's open a new deck. I think we still have someone who's not muted. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that hex value. So I'm going to create a shape just to show you how it is done. So let's say I'm creating a circle, right? I want to apply the hex value that we saw here. Let's say I want this yellow, right? So all I have to do is just copy this hex value. I'm pressing Ctrl C over here. Now I'm going back to PowerPoint, and under PowerPoint you will have to change the color. So for that you have to go to shape fill, and under shape fill you'll have to select more colors. So under more colors you can go to this particular tab where you can see that there is a feature called hex color number. So all you'll have to do is select, delete this and paste the number. So we have FADC6F. Click OK. That exact same yellow color gets replicated over here. It's the same yellow as this. So this is how you transfer the color values that you get in Adobe Color to PowerPoint, or you can even transfer it to Word or any application that you want. You can transfer whatever colors that you have from here to that application. See, if you have an Adobe account and if you are using this in Photoshop or in Illustrator and tools like that, you have an option called save over here. If you hit save, it gets saved in your library, and from your library you can directly import it into those applications. But since we are only talking about non-Adobe applications, we don't need to do that. We just have to take these hex values and save a copy of those hex values, so that when we create our templates and when we create our slides and objects, we can use these hex values to make our slides not only consistent but also visually appealing. So this is the first part of Adobe Color, where it is basically free. This is where you freewheel. You can just go around, play with color, just move things around and just play around. So now we'll go into other aspects where we will look at few other interesting things. And before we go into that, I would like to show you a small aspect that I would like you to understand. This is about what you see on the screen versus what you print. Oftentimes what happens is, if you are working on a slide deck, you might have to print certain slides. Or if you're working on a document and you're applying some colors, you might want to print those slides or pages. So the way in which your computer understands color and the way in which your printer understands color is slightly different. So if you look at printers, or even if you look at, I can give you a good example. If you look at your newspapers, right? Any newspaper that you take, at the bottom, you will see 4 dots. It will be in blue, yellow, CMYK. Okay, so cyan, blue, yellow and black. You will see those 4 dots. So that is the format in which all printers across the world read your colors. It's a format called CMYK. So if you are going to use your documents in CMYK, you will have to set your color palette accordingly. If you are going to use it in web, you can use a format called RGB. So right now, if you look at the bottom part of the left bottom of the screen over here, we have the color mode set to RGB. Now you can set it to different types. You have HSB, you have lab, there are different formats that are available. You can also select CMYK to get that done. Just give me a second. Yeah, thank you. So this is what we have as far as your colors are concerned. Now we go to the next part over here. It's called extract theme. So this is a very interesting aspect that is there in Adobe Color. Okay, so let's say that you are working on a particular project and that particular project has a specific theme that is attached to it. So how do you get colors that are aligned to that theme? So Adobe Color has a very interesting tool where you can draw inspirations from images that are related to your project. So let's say that I am working on a project for renewable sources of energy. Let's say that I'm working for one of my clients who is in the windmill business. So I have to create a color palette for that person. So what I have to do is I'll just open a new tab, go to images.google.com, right? So I come to here, so I just select wind power or wind farms or whatever. So I look at it, I get images like this. So make sure that you get a high resolution image. So for that you go to tools, select large, so that you get all high resolution images. So you can look at all these images for inspiration and see which one really works for you or works for your client. So there are a lot of options that are available. So you can see which one really resonates with your client. Let's say that I want something like this. Right, so there is white of the windmill, there is green which symbolizes green energy, there is blue which symbolizes expanse and the abundance. Right, let's say that I want to use this image. So I'm going to right click, save this image. Let's say I'll just put this over here. So I've saved a copy of this image now. So what I'm going to do is go back to Adobe Color and I'm going to upload this file to Adobe Color. I'm going to go here. This is the image we downloaded. I'm uploading this image. So if you look at it, once the image is uploaded, Adobe automatically generates a color palette for you. And in the color palette, you can also select the mood of the colors that you want. So let's say that you are making a pitch for your client using these colors, or if it is going to be a much more formal business kind of a thing, a business report kind of a thing that you're making, an annual report or things. So based on the mood of the presentation, you can generate palettes. So if you look at the left corner over here, you have different options to draw inspiration from this image. So this is a very colorful theme that you have. You can go for brighter themes, more muted themes, deep themes, a darker version of the theme. Or you can still go and customize. So let's say that you can still move these things around. Let's say that you absolutely want a cream kind of a thing and something like this. So let's say that you don't want this dark green, you want more of light greens. So you can move this over here, or probably a different shade of blue. You want a combination like that, you can achieve it. And again, all your hex values are given over here. And all you'll have to do is just press this button over here. So it copies it to the clipboard. You'll have to go back into PowerPoint, just select, same process. You'll have to go into shape fill, more colors, remove this, paste your hex value over here, click OK, and the same color comes over here. So this we typically use when our clients, or if you are working in a company, you have graphics or you have logos that are very, very specific to your organization, and you want to draw inspiration from that and create color palettes that reflect that. You can use this technique. You can upload a copy of the image over there, and Adobe will automatically pick up the colors from that image, and depending on the mood that you want to express, you can select the colors combinations that you want from the image. There is also another tool where you can extract gradients. So I'm going to go over there. So here you can see that this is a gradient that is there. So you can adjust the gradient like this, whichever way you want. let's say that I want a lighter green and a blue kind of a gradient with a white, something along these lines, I can do this. Probably I want a slightly lighter green, which is over here perhaps. Yeah, something like this. You can adjust this. You can adjust how you want that gradient to look like, so you can get a preview over here. And all your CMI, all your hex colors are given over here. So all you'll have to do is just copy. A copy of that color comes to your clipboard. You can put it to wherever you want. And if you want to increase the number of gradient stops, top left you have that option where you can increase the number of stops. Let's say you want 7 stops. You can make that gradient look a bit more interesting, something like this. So you can create very unique gradients like this, and again all your hex values are given here. All you'll have to do is pick up those hex values, go into PowerPoint, same way, go to shape fill, more fill colors. I'm sorry, go to shape fill, you have gradient, go to more gradients, and under gradients, yeah, let me go yeah, under gradients you will have all these stops over here, similar to what we have over here. So you can add or delete whatever number of stops you want. So for example, this image we have kept 7 stops. So you can have 7 stops over here. 3, 4, 5, 6. So one more stop, 7. And you can keep the same placement that you have in the palette that you have selected. All you'll have to do is under each one, you'll have to go in here, more colors, replace the hex code of whatever you have over here for these 7 colors, and you will have your gradient, right? So you can very easily create professional gradient, because one of the areas where people struggle is when they create gradients, they don't know where exactly to stop, because in terms of the number of stops or in terms of which gradient looks best, right? So sometimes we apply the gradient very harsh, or we don't know how to center the gradient. Probably it comes something like this. There is a harsh line over here, so we don't know how to apply those gradients. So using a tool like this, we can move things around over here. We can see which one works. It's a very dynamic tool, and based on whatever you like over here, you can just copy and paste it in PowerPoint. The exact same thing will appear in PowerPoint, right? So this is a very interesting tool, and there is another part which is a new feature that has been added over here, and it's a feature that I personally like, is an accessibility tool. See, what happens is, typically, if it's a very normal kind of a presentation, if you're not feeling very excited about it, we typically keep a white background and we put some dark black text on top of it. So let's say that you have created a very interesting color palette and you have a colored background, right? And you want to put text on top of it. So you'll have to know what contrast level really works. So here we have green on top of yellow, which is sort of okay, right? But here you have a tool which will tell you whether this works or not from a visual perspective. So if you're going to use graphic component, this color is fine. If you're going to use it for 18 points or above from a font size part, this is fine. If it is going to be 17 point or below, this color does not really work. If I darken this a little bit, it works because the contrast is more. So I'm creating a very light font in a dark background. So the 17 point is also pass. So you can play around. So if I reduce this contrast, then all of this fails. So if you have 2 colors, or if you have an inspiration, you want to play around with it, you can still do that. If you have your hex values, you can paste your hex values over here. Let's say I am pasting this particular hex value. So this is a fail, right? So if I go here and select probably a slightly darker tool, a darker color, let's say that I want, let's see, this is a very, okay, I'll probably stick with black. Now if I stick with black, everything is okay. Now if I make this lighter or probably turn this into sort of a gray kind of a color, it will fail, right? Suppose if I want a green on top of a blue, these are bad color choices. So in terms of fonts and in terms of objects, depending on the background, This tool will help you what color you need to have for your font and for the objects that you have in front, so that there is adequate visual contrast, so that it is much more easy on the eyes of your audience. Right, so if you use this tool, you will no longer have to suffer creating slides where the background and the foreground looks very dull, or if it is like too bright and too much hitting on the eye. So you can avoid all those issues by using this tool, which is called an accessibility tool. So this is called a contrast checker. There is another tool which is called a color blind check. So color blind check is essentially a tool that will help you mitigate using colors that are not friendly for colorblind people. For example, your dark reds and your bright reds and bright greens, they are not exactly colorblind friendly, so you can avoid colors like that. So contrast checker is a very good tool that you can use for creating these kind of to decide on what fonts and what color of fonts and what objects colors that you want compared to the background color that you have for your slides. So these are some of the tools that are available for the Create tab in Adobe Color. Okay, so this is actually the crux of where you are going to be using Adobe Color, where you not only get to choose the color palette, but you also get to choose the inspiration for your color palette and also work on the colors for your objects and fonts in relation to the colors of your background. Right, so now we will move to the Explore tab. So the Explore tab is a very interesting tab. See, Explore is basically to give you a lot of inspiration. This basically throws up a lot of random things. It shows a lot of random color palettes in general. So this is basically a set of color palettes that typically work. Right, so suppose if you don't want to play with this tool and you just want to sort of browse and look around and see what color really works. Suppose let's say you like this, you can open that up and all hex values are here. You can copy and paste it. Right, so you can do that. So you can see there are a lot of objects over here, or let's say you have a particular theme in mind. Right, so let's say that let's go back to the same example. So I say wind. So it gives me a lot of inspiration. So it shows, so look, if you look at it, it has by itself picked up a windmill theme over here, and it has got a set of colors. So again, it has picked up some more images. So these are images from Adobe's library, where it goes, picks up, takes colors by its own, and it gives you. So here it is a combination of wind and solar. So let's say I like this particular one. So again, same format, you just have to copy and paste it in your application. It will work directly. So this is for if you are kind of stuck someplace and if you're looking for inspiration, or if you are not really sure as to how to take the first steps in the direction of where you want to go, you can use this Explore as an inspiration. You can either just keep navigating, just keep hitting next. It goes into infinity number of pages. You can just keep scrolling at it, keep looking at it, see what works for you. A lot of things that are available. So something like this, or if you want something specific, or if you have a theme in mind and you're not able to decide on a particular color and you want to look at different options, because in the first example that we saw where we uploaded an image, the different color combinations that we were able to select is restricted only to those colors that are available in that image. Whereas here, if you type a theme, it will throw up a lot of different images and corresponding color palettes from that. So you have a lot of options that you can look into and probably select a color that really works for you. So that's something that you can do in this Explore tab. So this is another very fun tool that you can work with. Of course, trends. Trends is basically something that is a set of images that are curated by Adobe depending on what images and what color combinations are currently trending in the design world. As you know, Adobe is a front runner in design, and a lot of great collaterals, posters, magazines, articles, infographics. A lot of those leading organizations use Adobe to create these kind of collateral, and Adobe has a system where it collects this intelligence, it collects this data, and it analyzes and identifies what are the colors and what are some of the themes that are currently in vogue today, which is being widely accepted today, and that is what is available in trends. And it is also broken down into several categories. So we have fashion over here. um, you can search for different categories. So I'm going to go back. So you can see there are categories for graphic design, categories of illustration. So these are sort of trending illustrations, user interfaces, user experience, architectural designs, game designs, wilderness, flavors, travel. So these are some examples that are there, but you can again do a keyword search to go for whichever industry you want. Or let's say that you are in the wine making industry, so I just type wine, you get options. So these are, when I type the word key for that keyword, these images and these colors are what that are trending today across the globe based on the intelligence collected by Adobe. So you can draw inspiration from this. Again, there are no restrictions. You can go in, take whichever color combination you like. Let's say that you like something like this. Okay, let's say that one second. Yeah, let's say you like something like this. You can again click this color combination. If this is something that you like, again copy all these colors that you want and use it as part of your presentations, right? So these are the main tabs that are there in Adobe Color, and of course there are some small buttons over here. So like I said, this button is something that will show you what are the new features that are there in Adobe Color. Because what happens in Adobe Color is, if you are visiting the site for the first time, this particular window pops up. But if you keep visiting Adobe Color, when they add new feature, this particular window will not pop up for you. So for that case, if you are interested in knowing what are some of the new things that Adobe is keeping, I mean adding and things like that, you can click the star button over here, which will show what are the latest features, and it will also give you a tour of where those latest features are sitting and how it can be used. Again, this is this is a light versus dark theme. This is something that is there in all your websites. You can change. Suppose if you are someone like me who hates too much of white on the screen, you can switch to this mode. It's much more easy on the eyes. This is actually a game. It's basically just to have some fun. If you are browsing around and you want to take a break or something like that, you can just click this. It's a small game. It's just a memory game. It will show you some sequences. You'll have to get it by memory and you can play. So now it's selected this. So I click this. I go to the next level. Now it will select two colors. So select this. So I selected the wrong one. So it says game over. So you can play this game if you want to. If you are like something, if you are like really interested and you want to just kill some time, you can play this particular game. Help, of course, if you want to you're stuck someplace and you want to do a quick search, you can do that. The forum feedback, so these two features are available only for people who have an Adobe account, so these features will not be available for you. And of course, sign in and the other applications associated with Adobe are displayed over here. This is the Creative Cloud application. If you have an Adobe subscription like how I do, you will see something like this. Okay, so this presents a very high level overview of Adobe Color and how you can translate the various colors and various inspirations that are available in Adobe Color into your documents and make them look visually stunning and very, very exciting. So that brings us to the end of this particular module on Adobe Color. So if you have any questions, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them and I'll be most happy to take those questions.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Uh, like you were telling that the text and the background are having a good contrast or not. So will the site show that this is not in contrast with the background, and this is will it show there on the screen, or
Absolutely, I will once again demonstrate it for you. So if you look at this over here, so I'm going to accessibility tool. So here if you look at the bottom over here, it will say whether this color combination is a pass or a fail.
Okay.
So here in this particular instance it says that it is a pass if you are using icons or if you are using font which is of 18 point or higher. If it is less than 17 points, then it is a fail. It is not visually appealing enough. So there you will have to make adjustments over here and make it. So here now it says it is pass over here. So if you are getting all three passes, then that means that you've got a nice mix and you can use it. If you have your hex colors already selected, let's say that you played with the color theme and you have got an orange theme over here, and you're going to be using that particular theme. Let's say that, okay, going for analogous. Let's say I have an orange theme and I'm already using this, right? So if I'm using that, it will give you a recommendation as to, okay, so if this is going to be your color palette or if this is going to be your background, how do you select your text color? So here you can go in, you can play around with it and see. So if I go for a slight yellow tinge, it fails over here, but the other versions this is fine. So if you are going to use a slide deck in this particular color combination, Adobe Color is essentially telling you you are good if your font size is 18 points or above, or if it is going to be less than that, up to 14 points, you can have it in bold. Below that, it will fail.
Just I want to ask, so this is in the Adobe Color, but I should know whether in PowerPoint it is okay or not. So the same thing we can put it in the PowerPoint. Just I wanted
this recommendation that Adobe Color is making is for across all software.
Okay.
This recommendation applies everywhere. So whatever recommendation it gives you over here applies to PowerPoint. If you use this particular color combination, if your font size is 18 points or above, it will look good and it will look legible for your audience.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Looks like I've been very, very clear explaining this. So
Yes. No.
So
that is always your mark.
But in case you have questions after because anyway I will be sharing a recording of this session with all of you. If you have any questions, and if you feel that when you are actually, because oftentimes what happens with tools like this is when I'm explaining it, it will look very, very clear. But when you actually go and implement it, you will have some questions.
N number of questions.
Yes. So if you have those N number of questions, please feel free to post them on our copy community group, our WhatsApp group. I'll be most happy to answer those questions. And if you require me to probably demonstrate any small part, I can make a short video of it and share it on the group as well, so that it benefits everyone. Okay. So please feel free to keep your questions coming. And I have not decided on the topic for the next Coffee with Vythee, so I will come up with another interesting tool for you. In the meantime, if you are interested in any particular tool, or if you have come across any tool that has sort of impressed you and that you want me to talk about, again, please feel free to drop me a message. I'll be most happy to talk to you about that particular tool, and we can go on this journey together.
Sir, I have two things, sir.
Yes, sir.
One is, as usual, my word file.
Yes. So I have an answer. I finally have an answer for that one. So I am planning to conduct that workshop mostly in January or February, because I've got a set of commitments going on until December.
Yeah, I think it's urgent, sir.
But that workshop is definitely going to happen, because I mean, 2 or 3 people have also asked me for that
Okay.
word workshop. It is definitely going to happen. It will happen most probably in January. If not Feb, it will not go beyond that.
No issues, sir, no issues.
Yes.
And the second part is you have been explaining more about the color now, sir.
Mm-hmm.
During the other classes, you were telling about the hex number,
Yes.
and now that is RGB also is there. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, how many varieties are there, sir, in the color?
See, there are a lot of varieties that are available. There is
When it comes for
RG.
the computer, like laptop or
Yeah, yeah,
desktop or
yeah.
whatever.
There are lot of formats that are available. You have formats
Oh,
called RGB. RGB and CMYK are of course there. You have format called Lab. You have Pantone. There are a
oh,
lot of formats that are available, and that is something that we typically use from a graphic standpoint, because most of them are used depending on the nature of the screen, the resolution of the screen, and things like that.
okay.
So it is used mostly in high-end software. Some of these schemes are used in games, which have very high frame rates and things like that. But from our perspective,
It is
for
mostly
our work,
RGB.
it's RGB. If you are on screen, if you are printing, you go to CMYK. We don't
CMYK.
have to bother about the other ones for the moment.
Okay. But while we print, no, we don't have the option of changing this sort of things, no? That CMYK
You can. So when you go into print, you will have to set your print settings in such a way that it goes into CMYK printing. It will show you a preview of how it looks like, and then you can do it.
Oh, in
See,
the color print, it shows that way.
yeah. See, what will happen is, when you go into colors, you actually have that option. Even before you go into printing and all, you can select which color format that you want. So for example, let me quickly share my screen and I'll show you. I'll do a
Yes,
quick
sir. Yes,
demo.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
Yeah, give
Because
me a second.
as you always say, no, whatever we see in the screen and whatever we take print, there is always a slight difference in
Yes.
it.
So now we are in PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm going to
Mm.
change this color back to a simple color. Let's say it's in blue. Okay. So here, when you go into colors, right, shape fill, more fill
Okay.
colors.
More full
So
colors.
this is where we replace the hex value, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the top, you have what is called RGB sliders. That is
Mm.
set by default. If
Yeah.
you go down, you have CMYK.
Oh.
So you can go to CMYK and you can adjust these colors.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so you can adjust these colors, and whatever you adjust in CMYK will exactly be replicated in your print version. That's it.
Okay. Okay. So while we take the print out, we have to put it in CMYK.
Yes, it is advisable to do it in CMYK, but if you are going to be using it only for presentations and basically exchanging files over email and things like that, you don't have to worry about it so much. You can
Okay,
stick with
understood.
RGB. That is
And when it
absolutely
comes
fine.
for that CMYK, while we take print, assume my PPT carries about 30 slides.
Mhm.
In each and every slide, I have to go and do that CMYK.
Every single
Or
object that has color, you'll have to go and do CMYK.
okay, it means every single object I have to go and do it. So
Yes.
we cannot do it all of
No,
one
that is
time.
not possible. What you can do is you can create templates. So in
Uh-huh.
PowerPoint, you can create a
Okay,
template in CMYK. So all your borders and your objects and the fonts that you use, font colors, everything will be set in CMYK by default.
okay,
If
sir.
you are adding any custom objects, custom shapes and things like that, there you'll have
That
to go and change it
that
in
we have to
CMYK.
change. That we have to change.
Yes. So if you are going to prepare a document that you know for sure that you're going to be printing, then
Okay.
when you create the template, just create it in CMYK so that it's print ready from start.
Understood, sir.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, great questions. So, Mr. Rajiv, okay, your name is not added in the group. I will take care of it, sir. I'll add your name.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay. So, if there are no more questions for now, I think we will probably close this session. And if you have questions along the line, please feel free to post them in the group. So, once again, thanks a lot for joining into this 6th edition of Coffee with Vythee. And I look forward to talking to you all in the next month's edition. Until then, thank you and have a very pleasant evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you
Thanks a
so much.
lot.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.